Do you think there's any scenario where we can go backwards?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm an optimist, but I'm also real. I mean, if we have a nuclear war, like that's to me a nuclear war or some EMP or some other event that takes out the grid. Like it's like to me that's the most obvious thing. If we have a major solar flare, which is actually an uncomfortably high possibility, if we wipe out the electric grid for a decade, it's like that would be that'd be catastrophic. Or like I said, some sort of global war. There are plenty of possibilities to go wrong. Like one of Elon Musk's main concerns is, I think, legitimate of that of a rogue AI. I think that's true. There's plenty of concerns. There's a lot of concern with climate change and general pollution. I think that's a significantly lower risk than, say, nuclear war or an EMP or solar flare, CMP or something. But still, there are a lot of risks. And again, with technology, if we assume there's more change in the future than in the past, that probably means whatever threats we have today, there will just be more threats in the future, and they'll be larger than we expect. They'll be different than we expect. I mean, it's the same idea of if you go back to 1923, the whole premise of nuclear war would be a foreign concept. And yet today, even though life is objectively better and more prosperous, we have new threats that are greater than every threat we've had previously. And so, to answer your question of could this optimistic scenario not play out? Yeah, easily. And unfortunately, there are a lot of negative things can happen, and probably the worst case scenarios are scenarios that we don't even know how to predict yet because they're yet to manifest. But I'm an optimist. I think we will overcome them. And even if they do occur, one of the points that Joe made on his podcast that I really loved was that the 20th century had so much change, and yet we had multiple devastating global events. World War One, World War Two, the rise of communism. You had the Great Depression. I mean, the whole 20th century was full of war and destruction. That is just. I mean, the Spanish flu too. I mean, there's so many horrible global crises that happened in the 20th century, and yet we had immense changes. So even if we have some sort of World War III or global catastrophe today, I don't think humanity ends. And even if it slows progress, and I actually go into this in my thread too, I have two scenarios mapped out on my global progression of human energy consumption of what if you have a disaster or a complete apocalypse. And I mean, my view is that, yeah, something really bad could happen, but even if something really bad happens, all you do is you slow the momentum. I don't think we can stop it. As long as humanity continues in this current age, I don't think we're going to stop.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and I obviously agree with you. But just to game it out, like I was thinking something maybe more structural that could lead those kind of events on. So, like, I'm just thinking, and it's a really good point that you made regarding, like, look at all the the terrors of like the World War Two, World War One, all that kind of stuff, like really bad. Like if you were in 1900 looking forward at that, I don't think if you were told that all those people were going to die, that was going to happen, you would have expected society to be so prosperous 100 years later. It's a good point. Just to be devil's advocate on it, like, and let's say Bitcoin doesn't exist, so Bitcoin plays no part in this at the moment, which obviously
Yeah.
is going to
We're
change
not
a lot
even
of
talking
things.
about that yet. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but just say US dollar creeps into like global hyperinflation. US dollar starts to go into hyperinflation, which causes a global financial meltdown, and then brings on all this other stuff. Um, I suppose it doesn't really change anything on what you just said, does it?
No, I don't think it does.
So
Even
it's
if we
the
don't,
total doomer outlook,
yeah,
or a
yeah.
little bit of a lag.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we're very far apart. It's a little bit of a lag, but yeah, I think the Hollywood idea of a global complete doomsday where it's just kind of like a Mad Max or a post-apocalyptic world where there's like 100,000 people living in a radioactive desert with robot alien zombies, whatever. I think that's totally fiction. It is, especially the nuclear war concept. I think people dramatically have an incorrect view of what a nuclear war would look like. I think people overestimate the destruction of nuclear war by like a factor of 10. And that's not to say it wouldn't be horrible. It would be absolutely horrible, far worse than World War II. But it's like it would be really hard to kill 80-90% of humanity. You know, it's like even if we had some horrible thing, it's like the idea of the human population going below 1 or 2 billion again, it's like I have no idea how that could happen. Like I can't think of anything. And like I said earlier, perhaps in the future we have an even worse series of potential catastrophes ahead of us. But I mean, it just seems that even in the worst case scenarios we can imagine today, you know, if you look at the data and you look at the studies I have, it just seems tremendously difficult to kill that many people, because you know we're living organisms like everything else on Earth, and we adapt, we fight, we have technology to help us adapt and fight, and you know even if you oppress us and force us down with massive resistance, the idea of completely crushing us just seems extraordinarily difficult. And I used to be a lot more pessimistic on this than I am now. I used to think that there are so many ways the world could completely end and humanity's wiped off the face of the earth. But to me, the more I look at it, the less likely it seems.
Yeah. So just like one of the main tenets of your first spread is the idea of like deflation forever. It's kind of like what perfect money does to everything else. Do you want to just break that down? It's quite interesting.
Yeah. So going off the assumption we've established that the future, we have less to come with the future than the past, and that even if we have some sort of horrible event, humanity is going to continue, and eventually, you know, technology will just continue to progress. The basic reality here is that you realize, okay, technology for thousands of years, all it has done is force prices down continuously. You know, I'm sitting in a house right now with heat and light and everything else, and you know the amount of prosperity one can purchase with a given amount of labor and a given amount of effort has continued to become more and more affordable forever. You know, a Roman objectively is more prosperous than an Egyptian, and a Roman was less prosperous than, you know, say someone of one of the ancient Chinese civilizations after Rome, and someone of that era was less prosperous than one of the European empires of the discovery of the New World, and everyone of that era, you know, continuously, everyone of the future world is more prosperous than the previous world. And the way to define that is deflation. The brute force physical cost it takes to acquire wealth and prosperity is continuing to go down forever. You know, I mean, take our, you know, cellular devices here. You know, what is this? Well, this is like a 1,000 tools in one. You know, last night I downloaded a new app of, you know, something that would have probably cost me $50 if I bought it in a store. And I download it for free instantly in a matter of minutes. You know, this is deflation. You know, your smartphone is deflation, because it is the cost of getting things done just continues to go down as technology progresses. And Jeff Booth puts it really well. I'm going to not get the quote right, I think, but he says that things trend towards information and information trends to free. So basically the idea being that we can replace things and products with digital versions of that. And, you know, the digital, you know, nature of technology and Moore's law and everything has information trend towards free as we have more and more computing power. And so what does deflation forever going forward mean? Well, it means that, again, if we're optimists and we assume humanity is going to survive and we assume technology is just going to continue and that there's no limit to how much technology could do, more or less, at least on human terms, then the only logical conclusion is that the real cost of a house, the real cost of food, the real cost of, you know, tools will only continue to become cheaper and cheaper and more prosperous. And to me, that's a completely self-evident truth. That's what we've experienced for thousands of years. And to me, that seems obvious that into the future, as technology gets better, everything will just get cheaper, which is deflation.
I'm glad you're taking Bitcoin seriously. You all should be taking your self-custody seriously. Where are you storing your seed phrase? Is it on a piece of paper? Is it on a sticky note? Or are you doing the right thing and putting it on a metal plate? My friends over at SteedStamp are sponsoring part of this video, and on their behalf, I'm here to tell you that they have a really good product for stamping your seed phrase on a durable piece of metal that you can keep over the long term. This prevents against your seed phrase getting lost due to water damage, fire damage, and frankly, it makes it a little more weighty and makes it a little more difficult to lose track of. And it's better psychologically for peace of mind with having it on something that you know is not just going to last as long as a piece of paper, but it's going to last indefinitely. So if your Bitcoin time horizon is for the long term and your time horizon for your seed phrase is for the long term, I highly encourage you check out Stampseed with their high quality experience in having Bitcoin seed plates for you. So go to the website. You can use my discount code in the description where you can get a discount off of your order of Stampseed seed plates. So it's a great company. You can get a great discount. Check out the link in the description and you can get your seed plate today. Thanks.